Welcome everyone to the November 28th Eugene City Council work session. Tonight we have two items. The first up is Equity and Contracting Program. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll turn it over to Christy and her team to get us started.
Thanks, John. I'm Christy Hammett. I'm the Central Services Director for the City of Eugene, and we are really pleased to be back here tonight to talk about our equity and contracting program and the strides that we've made. Staff has been doing a lot of outreach, learning what we can do to diversify our vendor base, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to Clay Stillwell, and we're also joined tonight at the table by Vicki Silvers.
I am Clay Stillwell. I'm a purchasing analyst in Central Services Finance Purchasing, and I'm going to cover the equity and contracting program today. And I want to start off with a big thanks to Council, because I know Council has supported this effort, and I think it's a really unique opportunity for the City of Eugene. These sorts of programs, the equity and contracting programs, exist in major metropolitan areas and larger cities throughout the country, but a town like Eugene or an agency like Eugene's size outside of a major metropolitan area, it's very unusual, even rare, for an equity and contracting program. So I think the support of Council really helps communicate the values that drive this program forward. So I'm going to start with a little bit of the program background and then go into our program focus areas, talk about our progress to date, talk about the program goals, and then questions and comments if there's any. So I'll start with this image that some of you may have seen before. It demonstrates on the left, you see what equality looks like, and everyone is attempting to look at the baseball venue, but there's restricted access because the fence is serving as a barrier. And in the second tile, you see that what equity looks like. And in this instance, these tools have been put in place to re-level the playing field to allow some of the individuals who couldn't see the venue in the first slide to be able to look over the venue. And in public contracting, what this may look like is somebody who doesn't have the resources or know-how, either because they're a very small business or, you know, there are other barriers to contracting that prevent them from accessing public agency contracts. And then on the right, you have what's ideal. That's a barrier-free environment, and we are pushing to reduce the barriers, and that will be the constant goal of this program moving forward, is reduction of those barriers. And that can be anything from eliminating some insurance requirements where it's possible for specific contracts, you know, with keeping insurance in place, working with risk to make sure we have the right insurance, but identifying that kind of barrier or having these big, large, clunky solicitation documents that we can find ways to cut down so that all the businesses have equal access to compete for City of Eugene contracts. I'll go right into the background. So how did we get here? In June of this year, 2016, we hired Claudia Denton, who's right behind me in the audience. She's our equity and contracting analyst. That was based on work we had done setting up this program beforehand, Vicki and other Central Services Finance staff. And then in October, executive staff sent a letter to all city staff explaining the value of this program, what our goals and efforts would be, and that went to all city staff. And as I mentioned earlier, regional and national efforts have existed really since the 1970s, chiefly in large metropolitan areas. And we've learned a lot from these programs. They are great for helping us not reinvent the wheel, but reform it and scale it down to the City of Eugene. And on local leadership and collaboration, as I mentioned, there are no formal programs in Lane County of this type, but all of the public agencies in Lane County have expressed values for equity and contracting. And we hope that establishing a formal program and the success of our program, we can work with our local agency partners and create sort of a united front or a critical mass in communicating these equity values to the community of vendors. And the benefits of an equity and contracting program are manyfold. One surprising one is innovation. So by diversifying the pool of contractors competing for the City of Eugene contracts, we're inviting more people from different places, different business sizes to come to the City of Eugene and offer different solutions to our contracting needs. And this sort of innovation really helps us get the most value out of our dollar. And then Also, by diversifying the contract spend, we are helping contribute to a vibrant economy. And this is one of the triple bottom lines, one of the lines in the triple bottom line. So we are spreading the contractor dollar further and wider to a broader set of vendors. And then finally, community stewardship, and as the triple bottom line component, this is the social equity component. In our program, we're specifically targeting reducing barriers that exist for minority and women certified business enterprises. So we are contributing directly to the social equity of the community from the contracting standpoint of the city. And as I mentioned, these programs have existed since the 1970s in major metropolitan areas. So what we've seen from these programs, when you look at their measured successes, they're contributing to job creation, tax revenue in some cities, and business-to-business sale generation, particularly connecting subcontractors to prime contractors and building those relationships that can build up the smaller businesses, and diversifying the local economy, getting different types of businesses and more businesses interested in the City of Eugene contracts and other markets. This has greatly helped local economies. So I'll cover our 3 program focus areas. I'll start with external outreach and move on to organizational engagement, and then finish up with our data collection and analysis. So we have taken 2 trips to Portland with facilities and public works staff and purchasing staff as well to meet with diversity practitioners in the Portland metro area, just to learn best practices and, again, not reinvent the wheel, but learn what works, what doesn't, what lessons they've learned, and scale that to the City of Eugene. This has been great for networking, and these people are glad to share templates and documents and forms with us, so it's been really great. And also exposing project managers and supervisors, staff in facilities and public works has been very good too. The next group we've done extensive outreach and engagement with are these agencies that support this kind of effort. So the Business Diversity Institute in Portland holds training and information seminars for diversity practitioners. The Oregon Public Purchasing Association hosted a reverse vendor trade show that we attended. This is a very popular event with small minority and women business enterprises. And then the Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs, it's a very big organization throughout Oregon. They have a strong presence, particularly in the construction trades. And we went to a vendor trade show that they hosted as well. And then next up is Business Oregon. So this is actually the state-run certification body for the vendors to get certified as either minority or women-owned. And they maintain a huge database of all these vendors, so it's a great resource for us to be able to direct project managers to who they can look at for contracts. It will also help us build relationships and conduct some of the outreach that we'll conduct as part of this program. But additionally, the staff at the state are very willing to come out to Eugene if we host open houses or anything like that and help businesses get certified. So it may be that we already do business with some of these certified vendors, or could be certified vendors, and they're not certified, so that's a way we can engage Business Oregon. And then next up are our local partner agencies that primarily help us interface with the vendor community. So there's the Small Business Development Council, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Lane County chapter of the Small Business Development Council. They have a lot of contacts in the vendor community and will help us interface with the vendor community. Additionally, they have some resources that are available to vendors that might help them reduce their own barriers to contracting with the City of Eugene. And then finally are our local partner agencies that I mentioned earlier. If we're all on the same page and our equity values are communicated strongly and upfront, we can create this expectation in the vendor community that these values are very high up on our priority list. Now I'll go on to organizational engagement, and this is really our internal efforts and engagement across the agency. So first off, in central services, finance, in the purchasing office, we're a customer service focused office. So we serve city staff throughout the organization in all areas. And that's going to be essential to the success of this program, ensuring that we're not creating more work for city staff who probably have plenty of work as it is. So we hope to make it more efficient, integrate these programs, and even add value to their process through some of these programs. one of the ways we're going to engage city staff is by identifying those barriers and then working with them to reduce them. These are essentially business practice changes that have to be scaled across a fairly large organization. So Claudia and myself in particular and other purchasing staff will be working closely with our internal customers to make sure that these barriers can be reduced in a streamlined manner. And then internal training is an important component. We'll be developing messaging for this program coming up shortly. That's our next step. And we want to make sure that everyone has the right language and tools to have a maximum impact, and so that the vendor community knows exactly what to expect when we communicate to them. And then lastly are our intra-agency partnerships. These are things like where there are internal staff who aren't necessarily contracting or engaging in the contracting practice, but they engage with the public. So they can either deliver our materials so that we can further spread the value of contracting with the city, or connect us to those relationships we need to build to both bring subcontractors to our prime contractors or to our contracts themselves. The last section I'll talk about, our last program focus area, is data collection and analysis. So in October of this year, we closed out a vendor survey that we issued to our 6,500 vendors through our electronic procurement portal. And we had 284 respondents, which compared to 6,500 seems small, but in looking at other agency surveys, particularly in the Portland metro area, they have all been very impressed with this turnout. And we got a lot of great feedback on what some of those barriers might be, in particular, short response time frame to the solicitations and a confusing and muddled contracting process. So since this was such a success, we plan on continuing the survey either annually or possibly more often, and we're going to tweak it as we learn more as this program goes forward so that we can further target our efforts. And then data collection, aside from the survey, is a very important element of this program. Claudia and myself developed these forms, the subcontractor utilization forms, that are meant to track subcontracting rates through prime contracts, which is where we spend most of our money, particularly on capital projects. And these will be integrated into both the procurement process and then into the contract itself. And this ensures that performance of utilization is an important value to us, and we can use that to bolster the language we have in our solicitations, on our website, and our ephemeral material that we give out, so that we're communicating throughout the contracting process the value of our equity efforts. Additionally, these will help us to identify gaps in our contracting and identify folks that may need outreach efforts, targeted outreach, particularly subcontractors. So those are our three program focus areas again: external outreach, organizational engagement, and then data collection and analysis. So to date, I'll recap what we've done so far. In June, we hired Claudia Denton, the contracting and equity analyst. We've extensively researched best practices through in-person meetings, teleconferences, and extensive online research. We conducted a vendor survey, and we've begun implementation of the data program, and that should be finalized pretty soon. We've engaged in extensive outreach both to the vendor community and industry practitioners, and attended events such as the Reverse Vendor Trade Show and Vendor Trade Show put on by supportive agencies. And then we've had a lot of conversations internally with staff, both to make sure that we're on the right track to make this an easy transition for them, but also to learn what they think will work for their business practices and what may not. And the program goals. So cultivating meaningful relationships, that's a big one. I've touched on that a couple times, but in our meetings with the Portland practitioners, they stressed that anywhere from 30 to 50% of their time is directly interfacing with the vendor community. And this helps us cement that we're committed to this effort, but it also helps us connect these vendors to our contracting opportunities, our project managers, and to prime contractors where applicable. Then we will further improve the procurement process by reducing barriers in the process from procurement to contracting. We will establish the data program, which we've already begun, but will be finalized shortly. And then we're going to develop a suite of vendor resources. So this will be things like an open house, which we have tentatively planned for March or April, where we're going to take planned projects that we think are coming in this next construction season, have project managers meet with interested vendors. This sort of program, I think, will really help us have an impact on the local vendor community. Additionally, we will create that common messaging that can be delivered through a website, more handouts, flyers, and other resources that can be distributed to the vendor community. And as I mentioned earlier, the Small Business Development Council and other agencies, they provide and connect vendors to resources that can help them, such as low-cost accounting and things like that. And then again, we want to become a regional leader so that Lane County public agencies are all on the same page and reflecting these values outward to the vendor community. By doing this, what we've seen in Portland is when these vendors come with their bids to solicitations, they come right up front with the equity efforts because they know that's an important part of the contracting process. And if all of the public agencies in Lane County are on the same page, then we can really have that united front, that critical mass of equity here in Lane County. And with that, we have time for questions and comments.
Thank you for your presentation. Appreciate it very much. I'm going to turn to Councilor Evans. Thank him for his initiating this whole discussion and ask him to make whatever comments he wants to make.
Well, I have some comments, a couple questions. Question one is, and I appreciate the presentation, I appreciate the work that's gone into this, but one of the questions I asked a while back was, what is our track record currently as far as contracting is concerned with MBE, WBE, EBE firms? And I know that there was some analysis that was supposed to be done around that, and I believe that we had, or at least I recall that we had instructed the city manager to bring back that analysis so that we could have an accurate accounting of what has gone on to date. So is that information available? Has that research been done?
So, again, I'm Vicki Silvers, and I'm sorry that we didn't address that in the presentation. So we did a lot of legwork to see what kind of data we could gather, since we haven't had this effort or even the thought of this project or program going back in time to collect the really valuable information that we now want to collect was really difficult, because it would mean, and the data collection forms are a good example, we're looking at subcontractors. That's not data that we currently collect or have. So for the project managers in facilities and public works, to start collecting that, to go back would be a lot of legwork. We'd be bugging vendors, contractors, combing through lots of material. It would be, and I'm not sure that it would be very valuable. So what we know is we haven't been collecting the data. There hasn't been an effort to have focus on this, so we now know where we can be now and what we'd like to see as we move forward with this program, what we can do in the future.
So we don't have past data because we haven't had a focus on this in the past. So here's a couple of other items. One of the things I think that is important at this table is that we look at what other cities and other agencies have done as guideposts for what we can do in terms of leading this effort. And one of these things is for us to develop ordinance language that, memorializes this in city law, so that we can have the kind of goals and aspirations as a municipality that I think that we need to have with regard to doing this kind of contracting. Secondly, this is not just a public works function. Every aspect of the city is involved in some kind of contracting, whether that is construction or whether that, entails some kind of consulting service, even down to purchasing meals for, council or staff meetings. It's really hard for me to talk to people in, the communities of color and say, is there an opportunity for us to do business with the city? And they're saying, really the doors are not open for us to do business with the city. So my effort is to change that dynamic, and my hope is that we look at all aspects of the organization and that we are also talking about this as being part of a progression moving towards an ordinance that will, codify this so that, in future generations of city council and administrations and city managers understand that this is not just a value and a principle, but something that we do as part of our business practice.
Yes, go ahead.
Councilor Evans, I really appreciate your comments, and again, your help in guiding our thinking as we've been working on improving our efforts and institutionalizing this work. One of the things that we've spent a lot of time doing is really understanding what it takes to excel in this area and to be a leader. And part of that begins with developing those critical relationships and opening the doors, as you were talking about, to make sure that we don't have barriers to access and contracting. Our focus is not solely on public works or facilities or construction contracts. It is much broader than that. As we've gone back and looked at some of the data, and the staff did spend quite a few hours trying to comb through and get good information to use as a baseline. What we found is that the information that we did have available was really lacking in the content that is specific to the work that we're trying to accomplish. And so we're continuing to work on that. And we're, like I said, our effort is really to institutionalize. City Manager John Reese has led that effort across the organization in terms of we've sent out information to all employees to raise awareness about the program. And again, we'll be continuing to follow up with more training and doing what we can from the purchasing and finance end to make sure that everybody is aware of what we're trying to accomplish in terms of creating a more open environment for everybody to work with the city.
I've got George Poling, then George Brown, then Chris, and then Alan. Okay, George. I've got him second.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think this is a very important topic. I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. I appreciate all the work that was put into this. On the survey that was done, we've got the survey questions in the AIS. It would have been nice to maybe get the top 5 answers in all the categories so we could kind of get a feel of how the people that did respond, how they were responding or what their actual comments were. It's nice to know percentages and things, but once in a while it's good to read the actual language. And I can appreciate Greg's concerns and efforts. However, I think codifying this in an ordinance may put us in a situation where we may have some unintended consequences. I think this is more of a policy decision than it is an ordinance. As they say, an ordinance can always be changed at a later date as well as a policy decision. But I just think that if we come out with a policy, something new comes up, it's going to take, public hearing and in a council work session to change it to maybe incorporate something or take something out of it. So I think in the long run, maybe an ordinance is a little bit overkill at this point. So I'm not real comfortable with that idea at this point.
George Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Looks very positive and very hopeful. I was just kind of looking at attachment B here, and I see that, you sent the questionnaires to 6,500 registered vendors, and 284 responded. That's 4%. And that, you could look at that and go, gee, that's really disappointing. why didn't more people respond? But I kind of don't look at it that way because I've sent out questionnaires before too, and this is actually not bad. I mean, you think, well, gee, why couldn't you take 10 minutes and fill out the questionnaire? Because who knows, you might learn something and you might get a city contract out of it later down the road. But that's just the way that it goes. People are busy, they're busy living their lives and running their businesses. So at least that's what I told myself when I got a very poor response from my survey.
We've been doing that.
But mine didn't have enough to really draw any conclusions from the responses I got. Were very thoughtful though, and very, very articulate. And so that was beneficial. So we look at the 284 that responded, and we see that 31% were women and minority-owned businesses. That works out to be 88 businesses. That's a pretty good sample. You can get a lot of good information from 88 different businesses. And so I'm just kind of wondering, I'm still not exactly clear about what are the barriers exactly? What did they say? Did you have a sense of what they said the barriers?
We have some of that information.
I mean, you
here.
mentioned a couple, but I'd still like to know what the whole range of the barriers are.
Yeah, let me go through this real quick.
I think insurance, short response time, complicated process.
Yeah, so insurance requirements, bonding requirements, short response time frame to solicitations, project and product delivery time frames, language barriers, other communication, actually language barriers had 0% response, sorry. Lack of personnel to complete bid proposal documentation, and that's particularly the small businesses. It's an administrative burden for them. Unsure of the process, and .9% have never responded to solicitations. So that they're responding to the survey and they've never responded to solicitations, I think is.
Sure, so they're probably just not used to that, and they don't know how to do it because they've never done it before. That makes sense. Okay, thank you. Was that information in our packet?
Provide that.
I'd kind of like to see that. That might be nice.
Send it to you along with the
Either,
slide.
an email even, I could print it out, but, and then my other question is, so you consulted all those great organizations, Multnomah County and Portland Metro and everybody, and to discuss best practices, could you just run over what some of the best practices are, what you learned from all those contacts?
Absolutely. So a big one that we were surprised with, we thought most of it was going to be behind the scenes sort of data, et cetera, but we really learned that relationship building is huge, that getting out there, letting the businesses know who you are and giving them opportunities to meet project manager and prime contractors really helps with the reputation component, like what Greg mentioned, and helps make more of those connections in the business community to give us a better, more equitable contracting rate.
That's the main thing.
That was a big one. In addition to that, let me see off the top of my head some of our other takeaways that were really big. That it's a lot of work. They're much larger agencies, but they have small teams working on this up in Portland, and a lot of them are engaged in that relationship building and some of the reporting policies and tracking these forms over time. Let me ask Claudia if she can think of any of our big takeaways. Yeah, we heard several times that proper data, to get that good data that starts to tell a story, can take 2 to 3 years. Data is
Or you
hard.
can get enough data to see a pattern and
Right.
to see the patterns.
Especially in an agency the size of the city of Eugene, we can have outlier projects or outlier contracts that are high spend with a certified vendor that throw off our data.
Okay, thank you.
Chris.
Thank you. Really great work that you're doing in this very important area. It really brings to mind process that I had to go through a few years back when I had to create a process for distributing $1.5 million to $3 million worth of requests. So you had to come up with a process to do that, and the process becomes extremely important. Our role as a council is to very clearly set what the goal is, what the outcome that we want, not only in terms of the work to be done, but how that work is to be awarded, I think, is a critical component. If it needs to be codified or in an order, whatever, we need to be very clear on what that is. I think up front you have to be clear on what your expectations are, not only for the work to be done, but how you award. And what I actually learned in that process is you have to be very clear in the stated expectations up front. If you change the goalposts halfway through the process, people get really upset. So you have to make sure that before you even begin, you very clearly stated what it is you want the outcome to be. And I think that's part of what we're trying to do here. But I think in terms of figuring out what's the appropriate mechanism for implementing this, there were three things that really that were critically important for me to ensure success, the integrity of the process. And the first one was to make sure that it is applied in an absolutely fair and equitable way, and that there is no even appearance of arbitrariness or capriciousness in the way in which it's done. You create a bulletproof process where the work is applied, and this is the second one, consistently every single time, so that you may equalize or make equitable or even remove barriers. But once you have done that, from that point, it is always provided in a consistent and equitable way. The integrity is maintained that way. And then I think the third one, the last one, is that the process is extremely open and transparent. And that gets back to your point, which is the same thing I heard. Wow, this is really complicated. Filling out applications for things, whatever the award is a very complicated process, particularly when you have to fulfill requirements. And so you have to work really hard to create an entire set of instructions or explanations or tutoring or even classes on how people can do it, and then make that process as open as possible. And I think that's what you want to achieve. And for me, in the process I worked on, the critical yardstick for measuring the success of what we had created was whether or not, when it was all said and done, there were protests, complaints, or appeals. And in the case of the process, after what was a very long and arduous process, no appeals, no complaints. And I think that's exactly what you want to achieve here, because some people are going to get contracts and some people are not. But at the end of the day, you want to ensure nobody complains the process was not fair.
Alan?
Thanks, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilor Evans for bringing this up in 2015. I think you have significantly moved the dial on this topic, and that's a good thing. I'm interested in the exec letter, Christy and John. What was the intent behind writing it? Why did you guys write this? And what was your best outcomes, worst fears about this?
I'll be happy to weigh in.
Well, as I was mentioning a few minutes ago, is one of the goals is to really raise awareness, right? To help people understand the reason that we need to expand our contracting practices to make sure that we are aware and including everybody, that everybody's available, everybody can come to the table, that there are no barriers, and having a fair and open process. And so part of the outreach effort was to not only show support for the program from an executive team perspective, but to also say this is important to us as an organization, and that we're here to support you and to understand what we can do to help continue to move the dial in this area, because it is extremely important for us.
What I would just add to that, I think our organization really for a long time has had a commitment to equity, access, diversity, and those kinds of things. This particular aspect of that has been wanting, and I think we know that just by virtue of having not collected data for ever on the topic. And so it's by sending out something from the executive team, you indicate several things. One, it's important. Two, this is a core value for us, and it's a value for us. Three, it introduces what is actually a new practice or policies that will be coming down through the organization. So it introduces the entire organization to that. And then it also tries to create a common groundwork for everybody in the organization if it comes out from the execs. And so all of those are the purposes, the outcome as we move forward with the goals that you have as an organization that willingly and is committed to operationalize those values and those goals. And so that's what the outcome is.
Good. Yeah, I applaud you for doing this letter. It's a little unusual, but I think it was very well written and hopefully effective within the organization. I would reiterate that I'd like to see the survey and the survey results. And when was the subcontract utilization form created?
So we created those over about the last month and a half.
Okay.
Those are derived from ODOT and other forms that we took a look at.
The best practices. Great. So moving forward, we'll be able to track this better.
And we're also going to implement for the informal processes that are not capital projects where subcontractors will be part of it. We'll have a bid and quote form that we'll distribute to the contractors as well.
Yeah. Well, overall, I think we're headed in the right direction. I think we've taken too long to get here, but I think we're headed in the right direction. And I would be interested in looking into an ordinance around this issue and see what that might look like. Did you guys, when you did best practices, did you look at other agency or other government ordinances around this topic? And what was the basic gist of them?
So one of the things that I found and where we have gotten to, and I think the letter is evidence, is that many cities and public agencies have it as an entire organizational effort and focus, so it's not specifically tied to purchasing, but then each individual area develops their own goals to meet that overall effort. And it is in code, but it's written in a way that's the whole organization values these things and their efforts. But to go down to the purchasing level it's not often done and has been challenged at times. So you have to be careful about the language you use and what you put in there. But it can be done, and you see it in various areas. But in this state, what I've found is most of them are at a very high level, organization-wide.
Yeah, and interesting. I didn't think of it until just now, but there's a lot of analogy to the climate recovery ordinance, and that does need to be broadened throughout the organization, or it won't work. If it's just centered in purchasing, that's not going to cut it. It's not going to have the impact that we need to have.
So, Mike, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the report. And thank you to Councilor Evans as well for raising the issue and bringing it to the fore. I think it's important that we do, and I'm in favor of the idea of exploring an ordinance that kind of captures the right approach for us moving forward. I'm open to how that's ordered, but I guess I would say a couple of thoughts. Number one, I'm really actually surprised that we haven't had more data collected before now. I mean, we've talked about this sort of value system as important to the city for a long time, and I'm not saying that there's a fault here. I'm just saying it's surprising to me because we've talked about these values for a while, but it's really hard to know where you're going if you don't know where you are. And so I'm going to be very interested to see what that looks like as we go on, and not from the standpoint for those that have concerns, if there was anyone who had a concern about this. This isn't about quotas of how the city does stuff. This is about enshrining our value system into the way we operate and the way we do business and the way our rules work here. And so to the degree that an ordinance captures that kind of systemic spreading of our value system in its operations, that's really what I would want to be supportive of more than numerical sorts of targeting sort of ideas. And I want to pay special respect to former counselor Andrea Ortiz, who helped me understand this years ago. Because one of the things that she always used to say, I can remember saying this on multiple occasions, pushing for the idea of us having a diversity policy for hiring in the fire department. And I was always a little I didn't understand why it was such a big deal to her, and I didn't understand what she was getting at with regard to values of it. I'm like, so you think we should hire, certain percentages of people that have certain attributes? And she said, no. She said, an equal system is where you have a party and you put up a sign or a poster that says everybody's invited. But an appropriate diverse outcome is where you do that, and then you go to folks you'd really like to see there and you say, gosh, if you can make it, we'd really like to have you come by. And you make special effort to invite those who might feel less welcome with a traditional invitation. So I was really excited to hear what you said about building a relationship piece and helping, because that's the only way you're going to understand what the barriers are really, truly for them. And for us to be flexible in that way so that we get that kind of outcome. And the analytics will be interesting too. So I'll look forward to seeing more of that and to talking about what an ordinance would look like. Thank you.
I'm going to make a couple of comments, and then I'm going to let Greg have his wrap-up last round, and then we'll head into the next issue of the evening. So the comment I want to make is I think this is a very timely way for this to happen both internally and externally, because I think the message of inclusion that it sends out is really important right now. So I hope, in addition to the on-the-ground work that we do, we find ways to convey what our intentions are out into the world, because I think that really matters as well. And then I also thought I want to praise you all for not wanting to be average about this. I think that's really good, that you really aspire to be leaders in this area. So I want to, and I'm all 100% behind you on that. I just think that is a great approach to have. And third thing that I just want to say is, look at those, like the business night out kind of thing, where we have a city representative. That's a really big opportunity to let people know what we're trying to do in this regard. It sends all kinds of messages, but it also can have concrete on the ground responses. So, and Greg, go right ahead.
So a couple of things. I appreciate Councilor Zelink and Councilor Clark's comments around this so that people understand, I'm not suggesting quota or set aside programs, because those were struck down as illegal back in the 80s by the Supreme Court and various courts of appeals. The programs that are now in place are highly aspirational, and the idea are goals and aspirations for what the city wants to achieve with regard to, minority contracting and women and emerging businesses. And one of the questions I want to ask is this, is what is the floor or ceiling, if you will, of discretionary spending that the city has to, do spending without having to go out to bid? What's that floor?
For goods and services, it's up to $150,000. For capital projects, it's up to $100,000. And then for
Smaller project.
Oh, a smaller project for
Smaller spend, smaller contracts.
Oh yeah, I mean the smallest threshold is $10K, but we can get 3 informal quotes up to $150K for goods and services.
So, there's a way for small minority women entrepreneurs, startups, people who have been in business for a while, people who are on the state registry as being DBEs, MBEs, to be able to get their nose in the door by just having that set of awareness and being able to do the outreach to bring those folks in and do the $50,000, $75,000 contracts, even the $5,000 contracts that get that relationships started and get that on their resume. So I strongly encourage that effort to be done, because that's a way in for a lot of people who don't necessarily have the capacity or the horsepower. If you're running a 2, 3, 4-person operation, they don't have the capacity to scan the trades for the bids all the time, nor do they have the capacity to put all of that together. So there may be opportunities for, various kinds of contracts the city lets, or not a contract, but just swiping your card to be able to engage those contractors. So just a couple of thoughts there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're going to move on to our next part of the agenda.
Just to close out that conversation, what I have heard is that you'll want us to come back with some sort of aspirational goals that you can have a conversation around policy versus ordinance, or however you want to choose to do that, right? So
Yes.
Okay.
And the metrics of data collection.
Yeah, and all the data collection pieces as we move forward with that.
And you'll send them all the.
Yeah, and we'll send all that.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is council communications. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just open up with some comments and then kind of go into questions or discussions. And just want to say I'm looking forward to tonight's discussion. The environment in which we work is complex, challenging, diverse, and often fast-paced. And to be effective and efficient, consistent, relevant, and real-time communication is critical. And our intent is to have clear communications to help ensure accountability and transparency, and to provide information to make decisions. And we want to keep council informed of requests and projects, as well as ensure no surprises. Over the years, we have adapted our practices as we learn what is most helpful to council. And since this last round of discussions began earlier this year, we have looked for ways to improve current practices and start new ones. And I'll just give you a couple of examples for your thinking. One of the things that we're now providing are daily media reports, or as often as needed media reports, emails to the council which outline all of the staff contacts with the media for that particular day or the past couple of days. And an important part of that is to ensure that council is aware of all interactions before they appear in the media. Our website, as you know, has been significantly updated over the last many months with project information. For example, we've known that we need to simplify information on the climate recovery ordinance and make it readily available. And what you'll be seeing coming out in the next week or two is a pretty significant new format and launch of information around that. And we intend to use that as a format as we go forward. The council newsletter, we've also expanded the breadth and depth and variety of information that's sent out weekly via email. It's also available on the web. And we've increased significantly the use of videos. And just as what I thought I'd do is just I took a random month from this last year, and as a variety of the kinds of things that are now found, I just selected August. And so there are things like project updates. We had 2 project renovation project updates, which began in late August. Topics: city seeks community input on multifamily housing options. The Bicycle Advisory Committee shifts gears to focus on transportation. We talked about the Amazon pool reducing food waste. Had some national recognition for our Public Works Wastewater Division, and also for our acting traffic engineer, who was recognized for leadership excellence. Talked about a Spanish bilingual social services guide that became available. We talked about the record-setting pace of the Eugene Airport. We talked about the city's support for sustainability at the 2016 track and field trials. Also, the 20 by 21 mural project that was launched this summer. Talked about the annual Home and Garden Tour, Bring Home and Garden Tour in September. We talked about the Eugene Sunday Streets breaking records, and cyclists applauding our street repair program, and others, and that was just August. And so we've significantly increased information, which we hope will provide council updates on operations that are going on, events, recognitions, as well as projects and those kinds of things. As you know, we've tried to significantly also increase memos that go to the council, and we've distributed over 100 in the last 18 to 24 months on any numbers of projects to the council, to include things like updates on Vision Zero projects, transportation system plan, fireworks enforcement, Parks Watch program, and any numbers of topics as well. We've also, and I've been encouraging, and we've been providing email updates to the council on a number of items. Some come from me, but oftentimes they'll come from various staff. Recent examples include Chief Kern sending out information on hate and bias reporting. I sent out some information on our B campaign, which is really a regional effort around inclusion and equity. Christy sent out information several times on lead testing that was underway and getting out ahead of that. Terry Harding has sent out numbers of updates on South Willamette and progress to implement the council motion and working with neighborhoods. And Sarah sent out several things on coordinated downtown development planning. So those are just some examples. We also have started the practice of using a regular use of council motions to confirm direction and decisions. And I think, at least from our perspective, that's been very helpful in helping to clarify and to get clear direction from you on where you would like to head on some items. And then we've also begun to email to confirm follow-up items after each public forum, and so that's also sent out as well. And then finally, as you know, I've asked Sarah to come back into the city manager's office full-time, and one of her tasks is to develop and to continually look for additional ways in which we can improve council, city manager, and community communications. And so we've worked hard at trying to really improve based on some earlier conversations, and while there are numbers of ways that we share information with council, my hope tonight is to listen and to learn from you what we're currently doing is helpful, and what else you'd like to see going forward. So, with that,
Manager, looking at Greg, you want to start?
Well, John, I appreciate the opening comments, but my specific ask at getting to this particular work session is for clarity between communications between council and manager. And I think that we as a council need to own our part in whatever disconnect is there. So when we've had major projects and issues such as City Hall and kind of this vacuum of information that happened for several months between the last time we got a report and then the next time we get a report back, and then, we've got some, financial changes that we have to grapple with and other changes that we have to grapple with. I don't think that we were necessarily owning my part of it is that we were necessarily that clear in terms of direction to you to be specific about what it is that we wanted to get back. I think that we also need to have that consistent feedback loop that doesn't go away for several months and then we come back and it feels like we're being surprised. I think that's the same thing that has happened with us with, the elongated process around Envision Eugene and the much shorter process that took place and continues to take place around South Willamette. And I think that there's some disconnections there as well. And so when we have major projects, major issues, climate recovery ordinance, other things that the public is expecting us to respond to from a policy standpoint, and then you as a practitioner in terms of implementing what our policy intentions are, that we're really clear and on the same page in terms of what our policy intents are and what the ultimate application, real-time application, and what happens is from the perspective of the city implementing that policy, and then coming back and giving us some clear vision as to what that really looks like. Is what we're seeing in real time reflective of what we've asked you to give us? Does that make sense?
It does, and I think as we continue the conversation, it'll become clearer because obviously City Hall, if I had to do it again, we would do that whole thing differently as far as providing information. So I think that's part of that feedback loop, and I've talked about that previously. And so I think that's an example of not providing enough feedback on a consistent basis. So that's for sure. And I agree, our intent is to provide you with timely information on an ongoing basis for any of the things that you have going on or the information that you need in order to make decisions, and also to be able to interact with your constituencies on an ongoing basis. And so we have that same intent. And partly tonight, I hope, is if there's some better ways to also provide that, we'd welcome that as also. So.
A couple comments I have is, one is, and I think we're working hard on it as a council, but just something for us to continue to work on, is the difference between instruction from one counselor and instruction from council, because they're often not the same thing. So someone thinks they've given instruction, but it hasn't come from the body, and you are not to, unless it's a small item, right, you don't act unless you get instruction from the body. So those kind of clarifications need to be made at the table, so it doesn't look like you're not listening. Mm-hmm. And then I think the other thing that comes to my mind, of course, in the most current context, but in general, when council heads down one way and changes course, it has implications for money spent on planning, it has implications on time, it has implications on many things, but I think it is incumbent upon you to really be sure we understand, this body understands those implications. And so I think in some cases, you've turned around and gone to work because the direction has changed, and then you don't come back for a long time, whereas probably that conversation about we had to change our course, this is the implications of that, this is what we're doing with it, would help in the meantime. So just those are my comments. Chris, did you have a?
Yes, thank you.
Mike?
I really think that for me, a key element of this conversation you brought up yourself, which has always been for me rule number one, no surprises. And I think when you get to the notion of what do we need to do to create a system whereby we can avoid surprises, you're really moving down the right path. And so it gets to the question of we want knowledge, but how much knowledge is enough? It's a balancing act. I don't need to know every detail of how the city works, but I do need to know enough to not be surprised should there be an issue. So there's policy knowledge, which I need to know as much of as I can get, because we are the policy-making body, and we need to know everything around policy so we can talk about that. Operational knowledge is also an element, but that's a difficult one because in the past some councilors have perceived themselves as operational directors of the city. And the more your operational knowledge you fed them, the more it reinforced the notion that they were actually operating the city, which the charter even forbids. So figuring out the appropriate balance, once again, is an issue. So I would say no surprises, and communicate as much about policy and what is necessary around operations to reinforce those policy things. But this thing that's going to cut through that immediately will be an issue, a problem, a landmine, a pitfall, or a consequence. Any one of those, and boom, we need to know about it immediately. And everywhere I've ever worked, that's been the rule. Whether it's operational, policy, or whatever else, if there's a potential for an issue, and the City Hall question is a good one because there became a cost issue. And at that point, that's where we go, okay, there may be a cost issue here. We need to talk about this. And I guess what we want to say, and what I'm hearing everybody say, is we're encouraging you to say, if there's a potential for an issue, hey, let's bring it up, let's talk about it. And that would be great. So I think with that in mind, that's the best way to move forward. And so the second part is when the topic here is council communication, I'm thinking, okay, council communication is more than just the council and staff, or the council and the city manager. There's also the public, the media, stakeholders, interest groups, suppliers. This is kind of the larger context of what real council communication is. And we've talked in other meetings about how the council as a body has not done as good a job as we could do in communicating with these other groups. And so I would hope part of this conversation is what can we put in place to provide for much more interactive, clear, somebody used the word clarity, I think that's always a great word, and complete and open communication with all these other groups as well. So in addition to our increasing the no surprise rule, I would also increase the no surprise rule with the public. And with the media and with a lot of other folks as well. So I see this as a much larger topic that we could get some really good stuff out of.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to contextualize my remarks with a little analogy I read and learned lately that I thought was kind of interesting, but I need you guys' help to help me illustrate this one a little bit. So I've drawn out some equations here on paper, and if anybody just wants to shout out anything interesting they see when they look at these equations, that's cool. It's just a little feedback. Anybody see anything interesting?
Mm-hmm. Well, 8 plus 2 doesn't equal 12.
Right, exactly. The first one's wrong, right? Well, that's the interesting thing about people, and especially the news media. You can write 5 equations, and 4 of them will be right, but everybody's going to point out the one that's wrong, and that's completely normal, right? But I think it's important to remember the context that 4 of them are right. I think that 2 things are true. One, I think that over the last several months, manager and staff have done a great job of improving the communications between staff and council and manager and council. I think that it's also true that previously you were doing a pretty darn good job of it, but there were 1 or 2 opportunities for growth. And so I think it's important for us to keep that context in mind. With one specifically that you mentioned that's been in the news lately, the interesting part for me was that in an article I read recently, I didn't see the context that I know to be true in that article, that I believe the manager in the case of City Hall was responding to the council exactly as he had been instructed to. I believe you were doing all the things that we asked you to go and do, and getting the information that we asked you to go and get. And I think it took longer to get some of it, but that's kind of natural under the circumstances. And it could have been easier or better if we checked in more often, sure. But there wasn't something fundamentally wrong that took place there. It happened exactly as we asked you to, and I think that's important context. I notice even that recently we got an email, we get the regular updates if something's going to be in the news. We like to know it first and no surprises. And the chief wrote us one recently that couldn't have been easy for him. And I admire him and the staff for that and their transparency with us. I'd like to see that continue to go on the track that it's on, to get better. I agree with Chris, no surprises is always the best policy. But I think the context is important here, that we remember you're doing an awful lot of communicating, and almost all of it is it's being done very, very well. So appreciate it.
Yeah, the no surprises policy, that should be the prime directive. And to me, if you just do often and adequate communications and information, then there are no surprises, unless there truly is something that comes up in the last minute, but that's very, very rare. I think you've done a much better job since the new City Hall communications issue. I think the council has done a better job, too, in making motions and being clear about it, what we intend and what we want to see happen. I noticed that you now reiterate at the end of the discussion what you heard, and we all go, yeah, that's right. And I hope that gets formalized, Lucy, in the formal discussion, so that we do that as a matter of course, and after a while it'll just become rote. overall, Mike and I have been saying this since we both got on the council, which is we don't tell our story very well. And I know that takes resources and effort, but it's something I think we could do better. I think the city gets an amazing bang for its buck from the city staff. It's excellent work that we do, and I don't think we tell that very often. And so overall, I think you started with very good communications, and you always got high marks on your evaluation for that. So I didn't think you started off in a deficit. I think getting better is always kind of the goal, but I thought you started at a very good place. The changes that you outlined are really good ones, and there's nothing really more I can think of that we could do, or that I would like to see happen.
George Brown?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I don't mean to beat a dead horse about the City Hall thing. You've apologized for, going ahead and instructing the architects and the contractor, and I accept that. I agree with everything pretty much that Councilor Evans and Councilor Pryor have said about no surprises, and I want to re-emphasize that because, we're going to figure out. We're getting close. We need a little bit more information, but we're going to figure out what's going to happen with City Hall, where we're going to plunk it down and how we're going to pay for it, and work out with the county or not. Move forward. And I just want to emphasize, and who knows when phase 2 will ever happen. It will happen eventually. It will be several years from now, and that will be a very good time to remember the no surprises rule too. The thing is, when the costs go up for whatever reason, either the bidding, the price of materials goes up, the general contractor is overseeing all that, and he sees that, he's supposed to notify the customer or work it out with the architects and the general contractor, and then you notify the customer. Well, the city is half of the customer, the other half is us, because we're the ones that have to approve a budget. And so we need to know that when it's happening, and just going in the future, it's all important because it creates mistrust and bad feelings, and it's not, we don't need that. So I think things have improved since then, and hopefully they will continue to improve. Thank you.
Eddie?
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate the emails keeping us up to date that we've been getting lately. Though I don't think we need to know every legal thing that happened or every time someone was arrested. That's a little overdone. I find the newsletter more difficult than it was. As for surprises, when you come in with, say, we have to decide this tonight, or on Thursday you tell us we have to decide something by Monday, I think that's too much. I think that is a surprise, and it's too fast. There have been times when we've sold properties that quickly, and they deserved a lot more consideration by council and more information to the public. We need to communicate things to the public too before we do them. As for the managers doing just what we asked about City Hall, I disagree with that totally. We did pass a motion to save the parking, save the council chamber, and save as much of the City Hall as possible. And then the firm that was hired was the one that wanted to demolish. So I don't agree that was totally following council. And things we found out, sure, that's one thing that we didn't know about, but it's a very big thing. The expenditures for City Hall is not a small thing. So that was important. And I want to say something about motions. I was prevented from making a motion recently, and that's the first time I remember in 20 years that a councilor was not allowed to make a motion. I had said I wanted to make a motion, and usually when the council, if you can make a motion and get a second, then you get a chance to talk about it. And there was a motion made to postpone, so that I was not permitted, and that's the first time I remember that happening in 20 years. The motion about naming Kesey Square.
Debating. You're just saying.
I'm just saying that happened, and that's something that came up about motion. But I do appreciate that we're hearing more, but I think the public needs to hear more too before we make a big decision. Like selling the parking lot across from where we used to have City Hall, like selling the land for the credit union. Those things happened really fast. And I think that we need to know ahead of time, and the public needs to know too, and needs time to comment. Thank you.
So I've said this many times to John over the years, and I appreciate Sarah being brought back in to put more energy behind communications. But the part that bothers me is that we don't have someone who's eyeballing the whole thing. There are many times that someone who eyeballs the whole communications of what's going on in the city could predict a response you're going to get from the community and get out and get out in front of it instead of waiting for it to happen. So it isn't, in my view, just a matter of communicating. It's having somebody who's got professional skill in that area who can take the broader messaging of where the city's trying to go, and if you know these hot issues are coming up, and trying to let the community know those things are happening, not after the fact. I just think that kind of broader thinking and communication, it requires investment, but I'm convinced it would pay for itself if we had somebody who looked at the whole city in that way and tried to be sure that we were conveying what we're trying to do as a whole city. So, Greg, you're next.
And I'll echo those same sentiments that the mayor just made. One of the examples that I brought up when I sent the original memo to you several months ago about this issue was when we were, basically told by, people at the public forum one night that, defenses had gone up around Washington Jeff. We had a lot of people, homeless advocates who were decrying that particular decision. Now, I know that's in your administrative purview, and that's what you did for a variety of reasons. But what had been nice to know was that we would have known ahead of time that was going to be an issue, it was going to come up, and that we were going to get hit with that, potential blowback from some segments of the public about. Now, there were other segments of the public who were really pleased about that, particularly neighbors in Whitaker, but, there were other people who felt that, the city had taken draconian measures and why didn't the council know about it, kind of situation. Now, again, as Betty and other people have pointed out here, we don't need to know every piece of minutia around decision making that you make, but if there are potential controversies that arise, we need to at least have some awareness of it so the council's not caught flat-footed. And then the other thing I will echo is that I come from a family of ministers, and one of the things that my uncles and my grandfather would always say was we need to be singing off the same sheet of music, and that is something that I would adhere to is that I think for the most part we are singing off the same sheet of music. I think there are times when we get sideways, if you will, because we need to have continual communication loop that really keeps us informed of those potential controversies and potential disconnects that arise so that we're not, and nothing's going to be perfect, but that we're not knocked off kilter by something that comes up that we were not anticipating.
Chris?
Thanks. This is a really worthwhile conversation, and it's moving in a number of different areas. Each one could have its own work session, and a couple of topics that have come up that I would probably focus in on. The first one is the different kinds of communication. There's reactive communication and proactive communication. And some of the problems we have encountered have been being caught in a reactive situation. Something happens and we have to react to it. And that's a kind of communication that you have to think fast, you have to work fast, and you have to be able to reach a lot of people very quickly when that kind of reactive situation occurs. But the first kind, which is what I'm hearing this underlying desire for, is the more proactive kind. That's where you anticipate issues, you think in advance about issues, you identify issues, and then you actively go out ahead of the issue and begin the communication process, whether it's with the public or with us as a council or you as staff or whoever. The first thing that I will want to remind people, and Councilor Clark will also reinforce this as well, you talk about proactive communication, you are talking about significant amounts of money. Proactive communication, in order to be reaching out to the public to give them information, costs money, big money. And if we're prepared to come to the next budget cycle with $250,000, $300,000, $450,000 in order to be able to do a good, decent, proactive communication. I'm not talking just pitching and advertising. I'm talking about engagement, communication with the public. Then we need to start talking in terms of the dollars that go along with the aspirations that we have. The second idea is the notion of certainty, that any communication has to be built around a certain level of certainty. If I communicate with you in some ambiguous way, then it's really not communication at all. And the notion, we've talked about this before, of head nods around the table, or does everybody kind of agree and we all kind of nod our heads, that's not certain, so it's therefore not real communication. And so I agree, we need as a council to be much more deliberate and certain in what we do. And that'll be the second request to our future mayor, is to say, do we need to take a vote on this? Do we need to get some sort of an affirmation of where it is that we're going? Because some of us will say, well, I don't remember making that decision. And some of us will say, well, I do remember making that decision. But if we've got a vote in the minutes, then, you know, and I hate to break everything down to a vote, but man, you can't deny the benefit of certainty. And that's what you really get when you vote on these issues or make firm decisions on them. And I can't walk out of here and say something else if the vote was a certain way. And that protects not only you, but that actually protects us. So proactive communication costs a lot of money, but also certainty with the council and with you is an enormous payoff.
George Polling?
Thank you. Yeah, there were a number of rules that I used to adhere to in my prior profession that have carried over into this last 14 years. And one is no surprises. And that's been bantered around the table, or talked about around the table. Another one is, if it's going to be in the press, let me know.
Yeah.
If something you did or something we, the city, did is going to hit the press, let me know before it gets there. And then I agree with Chris about being proactive. And this is what I've told the people that work for me before. If something happens, get it out first. That way you're ahead of the issue. You've got your set of facts out there first. People can't put a different spin on what they think happened. You have said what's happened. Get it out first. You know, I'll admit, John, the communications has greatly improved, and I appreciate all the emails and messages, especially the media briefs that we get. The ones that we get from the chief on the police department, like, have a real interest in that field, so I kind of enjoy reading about all the individual. I don't know if you want to call them high-profile arrests, but you know, those are kind of interesting to know, especially if it's a trend of some kind of crime that's occurring in a particular area or a particular type of crime. But you know, going back to that no surprises, you know, that works both ways. You know, we don't expect you to come to us, John, with a motion to approve something immediately. Likewise, I don't think we as counselors should put things out at 11 o'clock the night before a meeting without, you know, and expecting us to vote on it the next day. So, you know, when we talk about surprise motions, I think it works both ways.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to be clear. I think our internal communications are good and getting better. our external communications are a whole other kind of thing. And I hear and agree with the desire for singing off the same page and with a more robust effort at external communications that helps us feel together more as a community. I echo Chris's sentiment that that's a very expensive proposition to do that well. But I would, I guess, if not push back, just caution a piece of this as a communications professional. There's a part of this whole proactive versus reactive that you can plan as well as you want and have a team of professionals that cost a lot of money to be as proactive as humanly possible. And we're still going to come up with the community uproar over something that nobody can predict, that you can't control or be proactive about, that will have to be reactive and will be significant because you just can't predict all of those. And I would say there's another subtle piece that's important. While I agree that it's important for us to talk about short-term goals, where we're going and why we're going there as a community, the larger value system discussions are more difficult for this community. I see us as having very diverse opinions on who we are. And so that's, and there are plenty of issues around which the community may be divided as to the way forward, where if we're only putting forward one of those directions that happens to be 5-3 or 5-4 from the council about which way we're going, we may not be aiding community cohesion in the process of trumpeting that direction. So it's a little bit more complex than actually just kind of, being proactive about how we talk about where we're going. I think we have to be thoughtful about what our goals are and the purpose of communicating externally, so that if it's community cohesion, that we do that well and be cognizant of those issues that can cause division in the community.
John?
A couple things. This has actually been really helpful, so I appreciate it. And a couple things I'm thinking about that, part of what we constantly balance, as you know, there's potentially hundreds of things on any given day we could share information on. And so we're trying to constantly sort through those. One of the things that maybe we reconsider is sometimes there are things that happen just really within one counselor's ward. And so we will contact an individual counselor about that. And we oftentimes don't then contact the rest of the council because it feels like it's very targeted. Washington Jefferson fence at the outgrowth actually was one of those situations, right? It felt like, turned out it was different, but at the time it felt like it was something pretty targeted. And so, and so it may be what would be helpful for us is if we contact an individual counselor and you believe that actually might have broader implications. It would also help us if you just say, why don't we probably a good idea to let the whole council know that as well. And so that would just be helpful for us as we go. I think the proactive info is an interesting conversation versus telling our story in general, because one of the things we also balance is we don't want to get ahead of the council. And so it's awkward for us to actually be out in the community talking about something in which but you actually don't know it yet either. And so so part of that is how do you balance that a little bit, and we'll continue to work on that. South Willamette's an interesting conversation because, and I don't want to go into South Willamette, we've had lots of those, but that was actually one in which in some ways the process was working well because there was information that had gone out. It was ahead of a public hearing. Some people weighed in on email, as you might remember, about real concerns that they had, very legitimate concerns. And so we all sort of learned that at the same time, and it wasn't, and then we kind of moved forward at that particular place. And so that was in essence where actually the system tended to work, that people weighed in. We can also discuss that there's ways to improve the engagement on the earlier side, so there's opportunities for that too. So definitely agree with no surprises. Nobody likes that. And so we're continually trying to give information. Sometimes it'll be probably more than everybody necessarily will want. Unfortunately, over time, there'll probably be other surprises just by virtue of some you just don't know that they're going to be a big deal, no matter how much you anticipate that. But we'll continue to work really hard at that.
So my thought is it's better to over-communicate than under-communicate, and people can choose to read it or not. That's the counselor's individual decision. And it would never be my notion that we would all necessarily sing from the same page, because we've got a lot of different voices that like to sing different songs. But I do think that once a decision has been made, then you're in the business of conveying that that decision has been made and here's the direction we're going. And I also think if you have someone who has communication skill, and I'm not talking advertising, and I'm not talking about trying to mold the world. I'm just saying a good communications person will already know something's heading, and you don't have to tell the world about it. But you'll know, because that person will tell you, hey, I'm hearing this out here, and we need to gear up over this. So I think a good, because that person, it seems to me, and I don't know if we'll ever get there, but that person has no other job, doesn't have 25 jobs to do. That person has one job to do, to convey what the city's doing, to help head off things that you could avoid, to clarify things that need to be clarified. All of that's what that person's, so that person's got eyes and ears on the whole city. And a lot of the work of that person is not around this table. It's around helping us as a city do the best that we can. So with that, Greg?
Do we want to do the consent calendar now?
Oh, we could.
Yeah. So I move to approve the items on the consent calendar.
Second,
Moved and seconded.
I'd like to pull item C.
Pull item B.
C.
C. Okay. All right. So we're going to vote on the rest of it. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor and none in opposition. All right, and we'll go to item C.
I didn't want to pull it because I didn't like it. I wanted to pull it because I really like it. And I wanted to draw attention to it. And if there's, could staff talk about this a little bit more and inform the public of what's going on with this project?
She's not here, but I'm on the board that approved this.
And Chris, you could do a great job too, I suspect.
This is the project that we have been talking about, the St. Vincent de Paul teen housing project that is in the old church on South Willamette. The Housing Policy Board has discussed it, and the group that awards the HUD funds has talked about it. They applied and received through this body and through Lane County HUD funds to build this project. And part of their funding program, in addition to the HUD funds and fundraising and other issues, they also would like to have a low-income rental housing property tax exemption to help make this project pencil out. It's a critically important 22-unit runaway teen project. It's received some of the highest scores I've ever seen for an application through this process. The mayor also sat on the committee that did the final approval. And so I would say, without any reservation whatsoever, this is exactly the kind of project that this tax exemption and the other funding sources was designed to help support. So I, like Alan, wholeheartedly endorse this.
I just want to add to that these are kids who either are homeless or at risk of being homeless, and they also are going to stay in school in order to be there.
Eligible.
So I think that puts a lot of different values, the things that we value, in place. Councilor Polling.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, and I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of the young people in our community to actually not only find some place to live, but also continue their high school education. One thing that I do request, though, before we we go into the public forum at the 7:30 meeting is that you let folks know if they're there to comment or present anything in reference to this,
We've already done
that
it.
we've already taken action, so they don't sit through the public forum and then think they're going to be able to
Yeah, good
speak.
idea.
Good idea.
Thank you. All right, ready to vote on C. All those in favor, please indicate. 7 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Thank you. And with that, we'll see you at 7:30.